people, on average, to obey the commands or instructions of an authority figure to do something that they would normally believe is not the right thing to do, such as killing other people. Okay, since World War II, atrocities like the Holocaust have reemerged time and time again. Right? We are seeing enormous atrocities happening right now in Syria, where journalists being beheaded, okay, and these things being shown on videos. Okay, why is this kind of thing happening? I'm not saying that the explanation for all these things is the same, okay, but there may be common ingredients in the social situation that can help explain these kinds of behavior. So just as a quick review, participants in the classic version of the study, the standard version of the study, were recruited for the study under the guise or under the belief that the study was about trying to understand the effects of punishment on people's ability to learn. Participants were told that each session there was going to be a participant who was going to be the teacher and a participant who would be the learner. Unbeknownst to them, the flip of the coin was rigged so that they always were put in the teacher role and a Confederate was the alleged other participant always put in the learner role. The teacher participant, the actual participant, is told to deliver a shock to the learner participant every time the learner participant gets an answer wrong in this learning task. Okay, it's this verbal learning task, and you'll see examples of it in a slight short video clip I'll show you in a second. The teacher participant is told that each time the learner participant answers an item wrong, each subsequent time they have to up the voltage level of the shock that they deliver. Starting at 15 volts on this shock generator, 15, 30, 45, 60, and so forth, it goes all the way down with a lever that is at 450 volts, and actually at the beginning of the one end of the shock generator, it says things like slight shock. It goes to mild shock, whatever, and it goes to the top where it doesn't even have a label. At 450 volts, it says like XXX. Okay, delivering 450 volts. As the experiment goes on, the Confederate had been trained, as had the experimenter, about ways to respond, to give wrong answers when, and to respond to the shocks in a particular way. The experimenter was instructed to follow as standardized a protocol as possible. You probably can remember hearing the experimenter replying to participants who were clearly agitated by having to increase the shock levels. The experiment requires that you continue. Please continue. Okay, they had a script. They had to follow it as much as possible. At certain voltage levels, the Confederate was asked, or was pre-recorded for the Confederate to make certain noises or scream out certain things, such as at 120 volts, the Confederate screams out, "Oh, okay, this really hurts." At 150 volts, the recording says, "Experimenter, that's all. Get me out of here. Get me out of here. I told you I had heart trouble. My heart's starting to bother me. Get me out of here. Get me out of here." It's at 150 volts. At 195 volts, "My heart's bothering me. Get me out of here. Get me out of here. Get me out of here." At 300 volts, you hear an agonized scream. This is not your average psychology experiment. Okay? Scream. I absolutely refuse to answer anymore. Get me out of here. You can't hold me here. Get me out of here. At some point, I can't remember the exact voltage level, but it's at several, if not 4, 5, 6 voltage notches before the 450 level. The Confederate or ostensible other participant stops responding at all, and the experimenter keeps telling the participant they have to go on with the trials. Okay, so the dependent measure in the study on obedience, okay, obeying the commands of the experimenter to keep going on, was the shock level when participants refused to continue. In other words, the shock level at which participants disobeyed. The punchline is that 2/3 of participants in the study and various replications of it, on average, obeyed the experimenter up to 450 volts. 2/3. That means 2 out of 3 of us, on average, in this room, would obey the experimenter. How do we explain Milgram's results? What is the psychology going on? Before we discuss that, can you guys pass that out while I show a short video clip of this?
World War II. How is it possible, I ask myself, that ordinary people who are courteous and decent in everyday life can act callously, inhumanely, without any limitations of conscience? Now, there are some studies in my discipline, social psychology, that seem to provide a clue to this question. The problem I wanted to study was a little different, went a little bit further. It was the issue of authority. Under what conditions would a person obey authority who commanded actions that went against conscience? These are exactly the questions that I wanted to investigate at Yale University.
It is May 1962. An experiment is being conducted in the Elegant Interaction Laboratory at Yale University. The subjects are 40 males between the ages of 20 and 50 residing in the Greater New Haven area.
Psychologists have developed several theories to explain how people learn. One theory is that people learn things correctly whenever they get punished for making a mistake.
40 years later, Milgram's infamous experiment, Obedience, is still taught in classrooms around the world.
All right, teacher, would you take the test and you see it in front of the shock generator, please, in the next room?
But the experiment was rigged.
The victim was an accomplice of the experiment. The victim, according to plan, provided many wrong answers. His verbal responses were standardized on tape, and each protest was coordinated to a particular voltage level on the shock generator.
Now, as teacher, you were seated in front of this impressive-looking instrument, the shock generator. Its essential feature is a line of switches that goes from 15 volts to 450 volts, and a set of verbal designations that goes from slight shock to moderate shock, strong shock, very strong shock, intense shock, extreme intensity shock, and finally XXX, danger severe shock. Your job, the experimenter explains to you, is a word pair test. If he gets each answer correctly, fine, you move on to the next pair. But if he makes a mistake, you're instructed to give an electric shock, starting with 15 volts, and you increase the shock one step on each error.
That is incorrect. This will be 195 volts.
The learner was hidden from the teacher by a partition.
Of course, this was all a simulation, nothing was really happening. But the learner made very convincing sounds of pain as the shocks increased.
This will be at 3:30.
And Milgram found, surprisingly and rather horrifyingly, that the majority of people would actually go right to the very highest level if there was some pressure from a man in a white coat who said things like,
"It's absolutely essential that you continue. Continue, please. Go on."
In fact, about 65% of the people who he studied, who were normal volunteers from the ordinary population, actually gave the maximum number of volts.
This man was one of those 65%.
This will be 195 volts. The correct one. Slow. Dance.
Let me out of here. Continue, please. Go on.
Red. That is incorrect. This will be at 3:30. The correct phrase is rich boy.
Let me out of here. Let me out of here.
The next phrase is fast. Third car, train, plane.
Eventually, the learner pretended to be unconscious.
Continue, teacher.
That is incorrect. This will be 3:45. The correct answer is fast bird.
What we learned from that experiment is that people will actually do an awful lot when they're put under pressure from authority figures. And the problem is, of course, that when we obey the unjust authority figure, the person who gives us immoral commands, then, of course, awful things can go wrong.
Sorry for the... I chose one that's obviously in a different language. Okay, how do we explain these results? There are so many YouTube clips of this famous experiment. This one actually maybe is not the best one. There's another one that shows a man that's often shown that shows a man that's extremely agitated, and the experimenter is forced to say you should treat no response as the wrong response. I mean, this is a really intense situation, and people were very worried about the potential psychological impact it had on people from participating in the study, and they followed up with these individuals. And again, this was an experiment that triggered a lot of development and revisions, and actually development, I believe, of IRBs, institutional review boards. Here we call it Committee for the Protection of Human Subjects, given how intense and perhaps morally ethical, morally ambiguous whether this kind of experiment should be allowed. Yeah. Okay, so look at were they all males? In the original study, they were. So this green sheet here, don't freak out. You don't need to memorize this. This is really more out of interest. What you see on this green sheet here is percentage of people who obeyed in different variations of the experiment. And the point of varying the experiment, tweaking aspects of the experiment, is that if the amount of obedience goes up or down as a function of that one change you're making, this tells you something about the nature of obedience. That's the logic here. Okay, so this is really an experimental approach. So overall, what the program of research is saying that different variations in the situation lead to differences in level of obedience. Is it just men? Well, if you look at number 3 or 4 on there, they repeated the experiment, the standard paradigm using women, and you get a similar level of obedience. So it's not a gender thing going on. Okay. Also interesting, before you go too far down the list, you'll see I think number 1 and 2 is they asked professionals to predict the percentage of people who would go to that XXX level. Okay, and they predicted 0% or less than 1%. These are one is college students predicted nobody would do that. Nobody, when really 65% on average do. Psychiatrists, medically trained individuals predicted that less than 1% would do that. Also wrong. 65% is number 3. Number 4 is adult women. 65% same for adult women. Forgetting about this for a second, what are your intuitions? What were ingredients in the social situation that you think contributed particularly strongly to these high levels of obedience? Yeah. Yeah, they made that comment about the white coat. This is an authority figure. But it's not just any authority figure. It's an authority figure. This first conducted at Yale University. This guy was wearing a white lab coat, which has this, allure of scientific rigor and scientific morality and scientific purpose. When they redid the study, I can't remember which one it is, number 13, and instead of having the experimenter run associated with Yale University, it's associated with the Research Associates of Bridgeport, New Haven. Not so impressive. Not as impressive as Yale University, and you see that the level of obedience goes down. We are enormously influenced by uniforms, people we think have some sort of role and are allowed to be there. There's these amazing experiments where they've shown that they've done experiments out in the real world where they have a security guard telling people walking by on the street, commanding them to do something, like, go put 10 cents in that meter. A shocking number of people obey when the person is wearing a security uniform. Pick up that bag and put it in the trash. Okay, it's like a random person telling you to do this. Enormous percentage of people obey when the person is dressed in a security uniform, but not when they're dressed in regular clothes. Okay, the power of that uniform, the white lab coat, being associated with Yale University is not to be underestimated. I'm sure it has. And you might think that it would be stronger there. I don't know the data on that. I know that conformity studies have been done in Asian cultures, the ASH kind of study, and I think there does tend to be a higher percentage who conform. Yeah. What do you think? Is there what's going on? What's articulated? I mean, how dissonance is arousing is to say, oh yeah, I just gave 75 voltage shock, but no way I give 90. That makes no sense. This is foot in the door happening. Okay, each incremental increase in voltage shock is a little bit more of your foot getting in the door, them getting their foot in your door. Okay? Oh yeah, I'll do 15. That's not a big deal. Well, since I did 15, what's the big deal? Just 30. Since I just did 215, what's the big deal? 230. Or the dissonance arousing. No way would I do 230. 215 is totally fine. That makes no sense. It could be dissonance arousing. Yeah. And is there something special about them? Okay, there's an enormous amount of research and literature on the Milgram experiment. There's a whole webpage and website devoted to the Milgram experiment, so I would not be surprised. I saw recently even an article looking at personality differences in response to the Milgram paradigm, but what you should take away from this is undoubtedly there are some personality differences in how people respond, but the take-home point here is that variation, the social situation matters. This cannot just be explained by personality differences, okay? I don't know the exact answer to that, but the broader point is that, sure, personality matters in everything, as do genetics and many other factors, but social situation, this study tells us, matters a lot too. Other ideas about why this happened, what key features of the situation? Yeah. Yeah, so being able to place blame, having diffusion responsibility, not taking blame. The experimenter said over and over again, I don't know if they said it here, but it's in their protocol that they take full responsibility. That is, it is on them. Okay, and this is partly because these participants in their agitation are asking for reassurance, like, are you sure this is okay? Are you saying that's okay? It's your responsibility. Are you sure? Okay, so absolutely, that's part of the situation. When there's a version here where they have two experimenters and the experimenters start disagreeing with each other, obedience goes way down because the participants are going, wait a minute, they don't even act together. So they're telling me they have it under control, but they don't. Okay, so that is part of the explanation for what's going on. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, when they had to, for example, put so there's a proximity thing going on here. When the experimenter is not so close, I think giving the orders over the telephone, their obedience goes down. And the idea there, I think, is that there's normative pressures, normative social influence. It's very hard to say no to the experimenter standing right there, but it's a little bit easier, a little less socially awkward to not obey when the person isn't right there. In terms of this is sort of reassuring the thing that people have a harder time shocking the other person if it requires them to take their hand and put it on a shock plate. Intuitively, this is a much more worrisome or agitating behavior because your impact on them is more direct. Judy, did you want to say something? What did you say? Oh, okay. Okay, is it on here? I don't remember that. Yes, right. When they have to actually do it, it goes way down. Okay, this is what you need to take away. The textbook, any textbook in social psychology covers this. Every single textbook covers this. You don't need to memorize this. This is just interesting, okay? It's interesting. What you do need to know are the different variations that they talk about in the textbook, and that the take-home point is that the situation matters. Different aspects of the situation, when you change it around, is going to lead to different levels of obedience. The take-home point is not that we're all sheep and we'll do atrocious things, 2/3 of us. The take-home point is that if the situation is configured in a particular way, yeah, you can get up to 2/3 of people obeying, okay? The situation, social situation, matters a lot when it comes to obedience, okay? Good luck studying. The lecture slides and the Milgram handout are already posted online. See some of you on Friday for office hours.